Okay, we're going to talk about door lock jigs. For some reason, I've just collected a lot of different ones of these. Sometimes it's just to try to find a better one, or it's just, you forgot it at home and you're 45 minutes from home and 10 minutes from the store, so you end up getting another one. First one I ever got was this little Black & Decker, as you can tell from the color. This thing is actually pretty cool. It's probably the cheapest one you can get. I don't think they make this particular one anymore, but it's pretty cool in that, can you see this? When you go from the smallest setting, which is most doors are either 1 3/8 or 1 3/4, right? That's what all these other ones are preset for. There are actually doors that are different widths, and back in the day it was more common, and this is from back in the day. So anyway, you have this self-centering latch hole, which is really cool. That's really cool. So I haven't seen that from any other one, and ironically the cheapest, flimsiest jig sort of has that. Must have been a patent at one point, I don't know. Anyway, this just has sentimental value. I won't use it because it's clamping mechanism. You push and then you click that, and that's the clamping mechanism, and that's enough. That's fine, except for when the hole saw starts jumping around or whatever, which especially if you're new to this, that's going to happen. But anyway, I just figured I'd show you this so you can see how far we've come. And if you're one that does not like long drawn out discussions about these and boring YouTube videos because you have a short attention span, or you were brought up on 15-second TikToks, you're probably not even still watching because you've already moved on to the next video. But I will say, if you want to skip, cut to the chase, as they say, this new Spyder jig, I think, is going to be my favorite. And I've only used it once to do a test hole, but I'll get into further explanation why I think it's a better jig overall. I already did a video on this hole saw that is much better than regular hole saws, and I guess I'll put a link to that in the description. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. But anyway, I'll get into more details, but if you've been wondering about that, go ahead and go out and buy it and go do your job and come watch the rest of this video when you're bored. So anyway, what's the purpose of these door lock jigs, right? Every lock comes with a template that you tape over the door. This is just a 2x8 that I'm using for demonstration purposes. It's between the width of an interior and exterior door slab, so it works for all these jigs, just for testing out. What's the purpose of these jigs? You have a template, you tape it on the door, it's good enough, you mark with an awl or your pencil, or you start the drill bit on the spots on the template, and you go to town, right? We've all done that before we owned any of these, maybe not before because it's kind of scary. Drilling through a very expensive door. If it's a closet door, that's $80, no big deal. But if it's a $3,000 solid mahogany door like these cores came from, you can get a little nervous. So you just want to use everything or anything that will help you with accuracy, speed, clean cuts, maybe not so much on that one. But you just want something to help give you a little more confidence. And really, the one main thing that you're concerned with drilling through a door is going straight. right? You can see even on this core, I was a little off, you know, going this way and that way, but we met in the middle, not too far off. This one, even though the cut isn't cleaner, the direction was more straight. So, and anybody who's done one of these, you know, you want to go halfway in from one side, halfway in from the other, because if you're off a little bit, by the time you get through the door, you're going to be off a lot. But if you're off this much here and this much here, then it's no big deal. You know, that's enough tolerance. You might have to clean it out a little bit if you're too far off. And yes, we all should be able to drill a straight hole through a door. Okay, we get that. If you're going to comment on there, you know, you just need practice. Practice. We talking practice, not the game. Practice. Yes, you want to practice. But maybe this is your first door and you just want to, you didn't have the practice, so you want some help. Nothing wrong with that. Go ahead, admit it, do it. So anyway, you get a jig. But the point is going straight through the door, and that's one of the things these are supposed to help. Now, yeah, they help with layout. So you're supposed to be able to just put this on the door and go in and drill, right? Because it's already marked up. This is 2 3/8 or 2 3/4. Same with all of these, right? But I'll explain why they don't always help you go straight and why I think this one will do a better job of doing that. Okay. So what do we use to help drill straight holes? Maybe this thing from Miles Craft. They're a great company. You know, it gets your drill bit started in a straight line and then you can continue. Or you use this thing, another cool tool they came up with. I tried using that on a door and it was just too awkward. And I tried it not because I really needed it, but because I just wanted to try it out. It looked like a, you know, really cool product. And it is, but I don't think it's practical for a door, especially if the door is hung, if you haven't taken it off the hinges, which with these you don't have to. But anyway, all that to say, there are all kinds of inventions and techniques and tools to help us drill a straight hole, you know, through a door. To go through the ones that I have, the Milwaukee, you guys all like, oh yeah, okay, here we go. The Milwaukee, that's the other one. It self-centers. You see that? Am I keeping my helmet straight, my helmet cam, my head cam? It centers that hole. So heads up to Milwaukee for carrying on this tradition. Maybe this was patented and they came up with a different way to do it and have their own patent. So I think that's pretty cool. And then they each have their own way of flipping over to interior or exterior. And that's honestly one of the quickest. So the Lennox, and those of you looking at this who bought the DeWalt might be saying, wow, that looks familiar. It's just a different color. And you're right. This is the exact same as the DeWalt. It's the same mold, just different coloring. Okay. I don't know how that happened or whatever, but that's, you know, maybe they're both the same parent companies. I don't know. I don't care. But I have used the DeWalt and compared them, and they are identical. One thing I do like about the Lennox is that, like, if you see on the Milwaukee, the lettering, it's just embossed in there and you can't really see it. If you got old guy eyes like me, or if you're working with not all the lighting I have here, the Lennox has the white paint or white lettering on the numbers, so you can see better. That is kind of cool. It's got these notches. I think they all have these notches so you can find your line on your door and your template or whatever. Those are all the same. I got this new Miles Craft, which I haven't used yet, just because I wanted to try it out. It's pretty cool. Has a metal ring in there, has, if I don't know if you see this, thicker padding here, and I'll talk about why I feel that's important. But it has plastic here with no padding. Interesting. One thing it does have, which is really cool, is this little thing that pops in here that does the spacing for your lock, your deadbolt, automatically. Or I suppose if you were on the other side doing a deadbolt first, you'd do the handle. Most people are doing the handle first. People are like, well, what's the big deal? You got a template or you can measure. Yeah, but with this clamped on the door, you drilled your holes, right? Those holes are there. It doesn't matter where the template is now. This hole is the hole that's in the door. So you really want the next hole to reference this and not the template, because you might be off 1/8 of an inch, which, you know, is easy to do. Okay, say you've never done it, fine. We're not all perfect. So if this hole is off on the template from whatever, you know, mark that you put up here from the template, well, now this is going to be off. So with this little deal, you leave this clamped, and then you start. You've got a mark here for your holes. You can drill your latch plate hole, and then you can start in the center of that and mark that to move this jig back up here to do the deadbolt. People are like, it's no big deal. Maybe not, but I thought it was cool. It helps you avoid small little errors that just slow you down. And it's not so important. Obviously, it's not important if you have separate handle and deadbolts. But some, I'll see if I can try to find a picture of them. Some of them are integrated, or there's reasons if your latch holes are already drilled or whatever. I thought it was cool. So anyways, what was I talking about? Drilling straight. Okay. There's a couple problems with these jigs as far as helping you drill straight. One is there's too much wiggle room on this jig, right? Unless you're buying a $500 jig, which, man, I bet they're awesome. But there's too much wiggle room. You can go in an angle, you know. Now, sure, it should. If you go in this far, you're not going to be well. You can be off quite a bit, right? And it's going to chew up the plastic. With the Lennox or DeWalt, now this is a little tighter clearances, right? So that's going to be a little better. But you still got some play once the teeth are through. You know, you can still get off a little bit. And again, this is chewing this up. The Miles Craft, which admittedly I have not used, but this has the metal, which supposedly keep you from chewing it up. But you can still, there's still some play, right? Okay, beat that horse to death. So what do? To help with that, they give you the centering bit, right? That's what all these things have, the centering bit that go in. And so now you know this is helping you go straight, I guess. Here's the point I'm making. This thing enters the door before you're even halfway through or even into the jig. Now, yeah, you can adjust these back and forth for all that. But I guess my big point is once you have a center hole, you don't need the jig. And that's what all you guys saying, well, just use the template and use a pilot hole, are saying. Yes. So maybe we can have the best of both worlds with this Spyder, which is, I'm going to tell you why this is pretty cool now. Okay, there's no ring around it to guide. They're just, you know, jumping straight to the center, right? So, because, like I said, if you've already got a center pilot bit, then you don't need the ring. So what they're doing, this is really cool. Let me hold it up where you can see it. This thing pops off. This goes on the door, clamps on the door, and the bit goes in, and it gives you, it's kind of like using this thing from Milescraft, right? It's keeping you straight, going through. So you can go through all the way through the door on this, and it stays pretty straight. So you know, you get that little bit there, but again, practice. It's helping you. It's not perfect, but that's giving you the pilot bit going all the way through the door. Here, the same thing, pilot bit going all the way through the door. Doesn't seem to be as much play as in some of the other ones. And then you're done with the jig because you have your pilot holes, and you take this, which is really cool, drill your hole, take this out, and in order to get the plug out, you do you just take it off, and then you don't have it bound up on the bit, and the plug comes out a lot easier. That was really cool, the way this comes off so fast. And I think even when it's on the drill, you can just do this to drill your pilot holes. You don't have to take it off, but it slides right back up there. That's a really cool feature. Now, you could also use this with Spyder's better hole saw that is in my video, and the reason it's better, I can show you, it has these thick teeth instead of these little just bent teeth, and these are actually saw blade teeth welded on here. The reason it's better is that it cuts the plug smaller than the cylinder, smaller than the metal part of the hole saw, making it much easier to pull out. Okay, combined with this feature, and it's going to fall out of there. Literally, it'll just fall out. So anyways, I think Spyder's pretty innovative when it comes to both of these things. And so check out my other video on that, and I look forward to using this a lot more. So I'm going to back up with some of the problems of these jigs also. The one major issue that you run into that you might not think about, but it'll bite you, is that all these pads, all the ones I've used, this one, same. I haven't used this one yet that has this spread out pad, not the little dots, but again, there's plastic here, so I'm suspect. The problem is all these little pads, when you clamp it onto the door tight enough to hold it steady enough to drill, which is the purpose of the thing, these things stick to the paint, and when you go to take it off, you'll get a little, you'll hear it, and you get a lump in your throat. These little sounds of it pulling the paint off the door, especially on if it's a really expensive door and the client has high quality expectations, which they should. That's going to cost you some more time because now you got to do that touch-up paint, and it may not look as good as the original because you're not a painter. I'm not a painter. So anyway, that's one of the problems with all of these, and another reason why guys are going to say just use a template. Another reason I like this is that it's not on the door as long, right? I think with a lot of these, you're clamping it on there, you're drilling the latch hole, you're drilling the lock holes from both sides, okay? And it's wiggling it around, you know. This is in here rattling around a little bit until you get it going, and it can still do that. So it's kind of wiggling on that paint, and it's just a recipe for pulling those little dots off. So that's why I'm thinking this thing's better, because it's not going to be on the door as long. You put it on the door, and you're not rattling it all around. You put it on the door, you drill your pilot, you take it off, and then you go back to old school. So this is kind of halfway between using a jig and using a template, right? It's helping you be more accurate, drilling straight in. You don't have to tape the template on the door. Another problem with a freshly painted door, right? No markings on masking tape, which is something else that can pull paint, all that stuff. I just think this seems to be quicker and less prone to pulling paint off the door. That's my reasoning, okay? Again, here with the clear markings, you can see it's not embossed, it's actually painted on there. This one too, it's a little thing that helps, especially as your eyes get older. So anyway, I don't know if I missed anything. I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments. So appreciate it.